The idea, insight, or secret you need for massive impact is just moments away. It's time to claim your career crown. The podcast where business owners and entrepreneurs share the keys to the kingdom to help you open the vault to your greater success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strategic Sales Queens Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck, the Strategic Sales Queen, and today I'm joined by our special guest, Kelly Townsend. We're going to be talking about stop being and start leading your business, why that shift changes everything. I want to think about this because if you've ever felt like your business runs you instead of the other way around, this episode will change how you see everything. You're going to learn that you are not your business and how that simple shift frees you to lead with clarity, confidence, and better financial decisions. And this conversation is going to help you stop personalizing the numbers and start seeing them as a leadership tool. And I'd love to invite you to subscribe if you love the show and you love the episode. It's super simple, and please give us that 5-star review. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Kelly. So Kelly is the principal of Leaders Team and has more than 30 years of experience working with both large enterprises and small to mid-sized businesses. For the past 2 decades, Kelly has helped organizations strengthen leadership, align teams, and navigate growth across industries, including healthcare, construction, legal, and financial services. Kelly is the co-author of Pineapple and Profits: Why You're Not Your Business and Why That Matters, a book that invites business owners to see their business as something separate from themselves and learn a more intuitive way to understand their finances and lead into the future. Kelly, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Thank you for joining me.
Lynn, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have this conversation because I want to talk to you about your Pineapple and Profits program, if that's all right, if we sort of lean in there, because it's also the book and the program, because the book is just about to launch. And I really wanted to ask, what inspired you and your team to create the Pineapple and Profits book and the program?
Okay, well, it's actually, if I go back to a story, it's really started with myself as a woman small business owner. And I've had my business for many years, over 22 years. And pretty much the first 15 years, I wasn't operating as a business as much as I just loved being a transformational leadership consultant. So I would get excited about having clients, work with those clients, make a difference with them. But if I wasn't working, I wasn't making money. And it was more of a job for me. And I didn't ever really look at, well, why, Kelly, is your business continuing to be small? Until I met Peter Frampton. And Peter Frampton was in one of my leadership programs in Vancouver. He came up to me at the end and he said, I think your work and our work could work very well together in a strategic alliance. And so he asked me if I would take his program, which was color accounting. And in the first hour, I started crying then, which is a little embarrassing, but I started crying because I realized that I had been avoiding financial conversations. Because when I was 8 years old, I got a B in math, and I decided I'm not good at math. And then I authored that future for myself. And as an adult, it became about finance, and I'm not good at that. That's somebody else's problem. Um, and when I discovered that for myself, I discovered that I really was running my business as a personal identity, not from the view of being an asset of value as a business. So that was a huge breakthrough for me as a small business owner. And one of the things I've learned, Lynn, and being a transformational leadership consultant is conversations that limit me are usually conversations that limit a whole lot of other people. It's not personal to me per se. Um, so I wanted to make this conversation available for other people. And that's why we created Pineapple and Profits. We actually started with in another alliance with the Business Leadership Institute out of Florida. And Peter and I designed a program for early childhood learning centers for those business owners to learn how to read an income statement and balance sheet and to actually have this transformation for themselves. So we delivered that program to hundreds of people, and they got so much value out of it. We thought, hey, let's create a book. And so that's what we're doing. And the program itself has made an incredible difference for people, from a controller in a $20 million business who can now have conversations with the business owner that she couldn't have, or an owner of a small engineering firm who just kind of had her head in the sand around finances, almost lost her business, and with our coaching, turned that around, to accountants who are in the program who actually now know how to talk to business owners about their finances. So it's really been really for us, it's beginning to be a movement that really supports women and women in business particularly.
Yeah. I one of the things that you said really resonated with me, that you'd gotten a B in math, because I'm thinking back, how girls in particular, my brother would have been dancing up on the tabletop if he had gotten a B in math, but I would have looked at it as a failure.
Yeah.
I actually was really good at math, but still, that I carried that over to other things. Like, oh, I'm not good at, like, oh, I'm not good at English. I was always more hardwired for math, but it was like, because I still to this day am not really sure what a dangling participle is. But the thing is that as women, as girls, that idea that you'd get a C in something, I mean, to me, that would have been like, it was a complete fail. And yet
Yes.
again, my brother would have been really like, yeah, you
Mhm.
know? And I love that what you've done is you've translated and how that stays with us, and
Yes.
how that piece of our identity limits us and we don't even recognize that it's there.
Yeah, and there's so many conversations, that's, like for you, it wasn't about math, but we all do have conversations that we grew up in that limit us. Another conversation for me was, I'm grew up on Air Force bases. I'm a military brat. So, but we were the enlisted people, not the officers. So we were the underlings. We were the poor people on the base, you know, and that is also a conversation that has limited me in my career. So, and that's really what we have people look at, Lynn, and that's the transformational piece of this, is to really stop and look and tell the truth to yourself. Begin to listen to those conversations that you're having with yourself or with others that leave you small, and leave your business small, when you actually have a capacity to be an extraordinary powerhouse, and to live in abundance, which is something that's very important for me that people really get.
Yeah, no, I love this conversation, and I'm going to go deeper on this one piece because I've had the privilege of getting a preview of your book, which dropped today, but for the pre-sale. But what is identity collapse? Because you talk about that, and we've been talking about that identity within someone, and that they're not even aware that they've absorbed that because it's a real problem, and most business owners, most people don't realize that they're facing that problem.
Yeah, you read about it in so many biographies. I mean, even Michelle Obama's biography, where she talks about not being enough. And I think that conversation, when we build an identity of not being enough, it gets into our business. Not enough resources, not enough talent, not enough uh, skill, not enough, just you name it. It's, not enough. But a business itself is going to sound different probably if I say this, but the business itself is whole and complete as itself, and it can't be not enough of something. It's what you create it to be. Um, and so, so many people in over the years have said to me, well, I don't want to have a personal conversation with you, but you personally run a business. So if you don't identify the conversations that impact you as a leader that you have with yourself and others, um, you're not going to be able to create something of real value for yourself. You've got to be able to hear both sides of the coin, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, this really resonates with me. I have to tell you, Kelly, so much because we tell ourselves these things and we're not recognizing what we're doing. And that leads us to, you know, what is going to change, like for me and for everyone who's listening, when you stop being your business and you start leading it.
Yes. Yes, it's been actually an incredible journey with that, Lynn, because you start to be in just different conversations. I mean, when you're looking as a business owner and what the business is about, what it's up to, and what's it's building, you ask yourself different questions than you do. Like when you look at debt in a business, debt can be critical to growth in a business. But if you have a personal conversation, oh, I don't like debt. I don't want to have any debt. That's a personal conversation. That's not a business conversation. And that's one of the things in Pineapple and Profits and in our program is we have people learn about the value cycle of their business, and how it all works together, and how to be conversant in that world, to not even be a master in it, Lynn, but to be conversant in that world so that you can be in the right business conversations that you need to be in.
No, I agree. And I think one of the things that really resonates with me, what you're saying there, is that if I can, the debt thing, once again, it's like a bill burns my fingers. I want to pay it day of or next day. Um, and so the idea of taking on debt for my business to actually get to the next level of growth, um, yeah, it's scary. But then you have to look at the math differently in the finances because it's the business is the entity, and then I'm the person. I really, that really resonated with me, Kelly. Thank you. And now this is going to be sound like a little bit of a crazy question, but I'm just so curious because the book is Pineapples and Profits. The program is Pineapple and Profits.
Yeah.
So single pineapple and profits that we all want. So, but why? Why a pineapple? I just have to know.
Well, it's so silly because it's really just fun. Where the book starts with, as I know you've read the book, as Alicia owns this organic market and she's got her pineapples there, and Carlos comes in to buy a pineapple, and they exchange money for pineapple. And I asked the question, who sold the pineapple? And what do you think, Lynn, most people would say?
Um, well, wouldn't I actually, Carlos?
Yeah, no, actually, Alicia sold the pineapple, right? Yeah, that's what people think. But what we say in the book is no, it's not Alicia who sold the pineapple, and when we deliver the program, that's what people think, but it's actually the business sold the pineapple.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah. So the business sold the pineapple, not Alicia. And that phrase of pineapple, then when we deliver the program, we have people listening to their conversations and what they're saying when they talk about the business, when they talk about themselves, and when they collapse the two, business from a personal identity conversation, we call pineapple on them.
I love that.
So, yeah, so it really means perspective, right? It's the perspective that you're thinking from, you're planning from, you're acting from. And through that program, it's just all 3 days, people start listening, and then they start saying to each other, "Oh, pineapple. Oh, pineapple." Right? And it's fun because it's a playful way for people to start to engage on the court there of what the conversation is, because transformational work is all about it's happening right now. Let's transform this thing today, this moment, in what we're doing. It's very on the court.
Yeah. Well, I that really made sense because then it's like that paradigm and that prism that you're trapped in, you get to break it and you get to
Yes.
see more. And so, and that's really going to make that transformation happen. So, I want to talk about finance language specifically, because we get into a place, and this comes back to either money mindset, money conversations, those blockers that I'm not good at math. Um, but why is finance really a language, and why does it matter for the CEOs?
Hmm. So that's wow, what a really great question. And that was part of my breakthrough for myself because it was I'm not a numbers person. And that's what Peter Frampton from Well Fox really had me get is that no, Kelly, it's a language. It's a language. All you need to do is learn the language. So we create a conversational and communication model, and we approach finance through language. And for CEOs, I think it's really critical to get how important language creates your environment and how people think, plan, and act in your culture is through language. So when you can have people in your business conversant in the language of finance, they're going to think from the value cycle of a business, what matters to the business, what's important to the business. And everything in your business touches money, you know, everything.
No, your time is money. Any kind of resources. I mean, it all correlates to money. And to your point, and that what I like about this is that idea of it being a language. Like you hear EBITDA, well, what does that really mean? It's the same thing if you're my daughter who will talk about, oh, this is so many degrees Kelvin. And it's like, okay, I'm not even sure what that means. It's a scientific language, right? And
Yes.
so And you, if you learn the language, then all of a sudden you have a key and it opens the doors.
It really does. And anything worthwhile has a certain communication model to it that you need to learn to have a certain kind of expertise in it or to be conversant in it. And that's really the cool thing when you start to get, well, I can learn any conversation or communication model. I can do that, so it frees you up, and that's what we want to do is free people up, Lynn. We want to liberate people. We want people to get that they really can create what they want. And it's not just a, s- a pipe dream kind of thing. You do need to put some work in. You need to put some thinking in, and you need to learn the language of the world that you want to traffic in or work inside of.
Yeah. No, it's just a new skill to acquire, new language to learn so that you can be have that additional level of focus. Um,
And Peter makes it so easy, Lynn. I'm just saying. I mean, he really makes it so easy. That's where he started with the color accounting. I mean, you're working in yellows and greens and purples and this is where I thought it would be so fun for early childhood learning centers. They have he's got a game board kind of approach to it, and within just a few days, you can actually be conversant. It's amazing to me. He has a great methodology. And that's the other part for me, Lynn, is when I see somebody else like Peter who has an amazing methodology that helped me, I want to share that with other people as well.
yeah. No, that's brilliant. So I I want to think about one thing, and because we've been talking about just to stop being and start leading your business, and we're getting so much incredible knowledge from this. But for everyone who's listening, for today, this week, what's one shift that listeners can make to lead with more clarity?
Hmm. Well, to me, the most important, which is what people skip, is you've really got to start telling the truth about the conversations that you're having with yourself. So actually writing down, what are the thoughts that you have about growing your business, about developing your business, about what you see as possible for your business, because that's going to be your starting point, not creating the future, but getting what's there right now that I need to go to work on. And to me, that is when you can get that, you're going to start to see, wow, I need to create a new communication model, but you're discovering the communication model that you're in. And that is the most important thing.
You've already got my mind running because I was thinking about a conversation I was having just yesterday, talking about how hard something was, and what's the real truth in that, and looking. I mean, there's this the whole way to that's limiting. Saying that is limiting, and by reframing that inner dialogue, which I'm actually verbalizing out loud, that's a place that I need to go back and look at today. I'm going to do that today, Kelly. I'm going to do that today because that's a truth that what I'm doing is I'm actually creating, um, I can make that change and that shift in that language for the better.
Absolutely. And I can, that resonates with me, Lynn, I'll tell you, because one of the things that I said to myself in my early 20s was, I'm a hard worker. And I relate to myself as a fixed hard worker. And then one of the things that when I distinguish that conversation of being a hard worker, I saw that I was always having to work, and I was always having to work hard, and I was once again living out a conversation that I made up to justify something about my life, you know, and it's like, wait a minute, Kelly, you do not have to be a hard worker, and work doesn't need to be hard.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Anyway, this has been so incredible. Kelly, I want to ask you one last thing. And um, is there anything you wish that I'd asked you that I have not?
Oh my gosh. Lynn, you're so thorough. I mean, I can't even, one thing is, and I'm not answering your question, but I want you to know my team has been so impressed with working with you, Lynn. So I'm just going to do a shout out for you, which I know is surprising, uh, but you have been incredible and you have done great work, even at this point with our team, and we really appreciate you and what you've brought to our team. So thank you for all your brilliance.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And I'm actually really excited about the Pineapple and Profits program, and I'm getting that on my calendar. So, Kelly,
Great. Atlanta in May. Come on,
I
right?
know.
Atlanta in May. It's going to be great. We're going to have so much fun. I love leading this program. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
I can already from this conversation see how I can, yeah, I will be able to grow and change for the better. So I'm excited. So Kelly, thank you so much for sharing Stop Being and Start Leading Your Business, why that shift changes everything. And I know that our listeners have been just as engaged as I have during this whole conversation. Um, and they're going to want to know more about where they can connect with you, find out about the book, find out about the program, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so the launch is February 12th, but we have pre-order up on Amazon for Pineapple and Profits available today. And you can certainly, yay, everybody go buy the book and review it, please. And please come to our program. But you can find out more about us at leadersteam.com. And we've got an amazing team of coaches, just great transformational coaches. And you can find out about Peter at wealthbox.com. But it's really fun to put in Pineapple and Profits in your browser and have it show right up. So it's pretty cool.
And I've dropped those URLs right into the chat. So everybody who's watching live has that. And for those who watch the podcast later, they're going to be down in the show notes. So they're all available for you. And thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you to all our listeners for joining us and on this amazing journey that we've had today in this conversation. And Kelly, I just want to end with telling you how grateful I am that you came on and shared this. Just in this conversation, I've already got some action items I'm going to take today, and I am truly grateful.
Grateful for you and your listening. I really appreciate that.
What was your biggest takeaway from this episode? I would love to hear about it. It's important to share the things you love. If you loved this episode, a 5-star review really helps keep the podcast coming to you regularly. Also, if you want to get more sales strategies to grow your business, make sure you subscribe right now. If you want to get results even faster, I invite you to download my sales strategy checklist at petitetoqueen.com/checklist. This has been Lynn Whitbeck, host of Claim Your Career Crown. I'll see you next time.